The big influence here is Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon, which I think is pretty obvious in the design. Hi, my name's Adam, and I made a new RPG for the Game Boy Color that's based in the tradition of games that actually came out during the Game Boy Color era. It's called Gumball and Trick or Treat Land. I made it mostly by myself, and that's what this devlog series is about. This project is my debut, and was my first serious attempt at putting together a long-form turn-based RPG. And the process of putting it all together really was very experimental. The game begins with a prologue in a small town called Corndale. Here's Corndale. The next 3 areas are the city of Thorndale, here's that, a spooky forest called Inky Blink Woods, here's that, and a corn maze and farm area called Flagrant Fields, here's that. These first areas are all pretty straightforward in their design. Corndale and the path to the south are very standard JRPG in their design, where the town is the safe spot where you can talk to people and heal up, and the path through the forest is where you'll have your enemy encounters on the way to the next town. Thorndale is also designed in the tradition of JRPG towns, but it's much bigger. This is your larger hub town with lots of friendly NPCs and shops, and then there's one specific dungeon in it where there are enemy encounters. That's the Academy. Inky Blink Woods and Flagrant Fields both exist as parts of the overworld, but they function a little bit more like dungeons because they're full of enemy encounters. The big influence here is Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon, which I think is pretty obvious in the design. Each of these areas has one or more bosses, a central puzzle that you can complete, and a few quest objectives that you can accomplish. But they're generally pretty straightforward. By the time I got to Mean Street, I was ready to shake up the formula a little bit by intentionally blurring the line between when you're in a town and when you're in a dungeon. And that made the design process for this area complicated in an unprecedented way.